Jannik Sinner counts 45, moves closer to Rafael Nadal. On Monday, Jannik Sinner started his 45th week on the ATP throne. The Italian is the 13th player with that many world number 1 weeks, standing 13 behind his next challenger, Jim Courier. Sinner became the 29th world number 1 in ATP history after last year's Roland Garros. He has kept the throne safe since, moving closer to Rafael Nadal's inaugural world number 1 run of 46 weeks. Jannik will pass Rafa in the last week of April and set his next target, Novak Djokovic. Sinner has not played since conquering the Australian Open in January. The 23-year-old has been serving his 3-month suspension for 2 failed doping tests in March last year, preparing his comeback for the home Rome Masters. Jannik's closest rivals, Alexander Zverev and Carlos Alcaraz, have failed to pass him and end his streak. Zverev has been on a poor run since losing the Australian Open final. Alcaraz lifted a Masters 1,000 crown in Monte Carlo, reducing the gap to Sinner to 2,210 ATP points. Thus, Jannik will compete in Rome as world number 1, with a realistic chance of keeping the throne beyond Roland Garros. The Italian is 93-7 in his previous 100 matches, becoming one of the world's best players in the second part of 2023 and dominating 2024. Sinner competed at the highest level at last year's Australian Open. He defeated Novak Djokovic and Daniil Medvedev en route to his first major trophy at 22. Jannik used this boost and lifted more trophies in Rotterdam and Miami. The Italian withdrew ahead of the Madrid Masters quarter-final and skipped the home Rome Masters. However, he used Novak Djokovic's withdrawal from Roland Garros and became world number 1 after reaching the semi-final in Paris. Sinner played his first tournament as world number 1 in Halle and lifted a trophy. He lost to Daniil Medvedev in the Wimbledon quarter-final after struggling physically and skipped the Olympic Games in Paris. Jannik bounced back in Cincinnati and at the US Open, conquering 2 titles and terminating the year-end number 1 race. Not stopping there, the Italian bested Novak Djokovic in the Shanghai Masters final, securing his 3rd Masters 1000 title of the season. Sinner withdrew ahead of the Paris Masters and returned to action at the ATP finals in Turin. Jannik dominated the field and beat 5 rivals in straight sets to claim his 8th ATP title of the season and add 150 ATP points to his tally. World number 1 competed for Italy at the Davis Cup finals in Malaga and led his country toward the title defense, wrapping up a historic season with a 73-6 score. Sinner started the 2025 season at the Australian Open as the top favourite. The 23-year-old defended the title in style, dropping 2 sets in 7 matches and lifting his 3rd major trophy. Off the court, Jannik had to deal with the upcoming WADA trial over his 2 failed doping tests. In February, the Italian reached an agreement with WADA, accepting a 3-month suspension and missing 4 notable tournaments. However, he has kept his rivals behind and will return at the Rome Masters as world number 1. Elena Rybakina is set to drop 500 ranking points this week, and that will result in her leaving the top 10 club for the first time in over 2 years. Exactly a year ago, the Kazakh won the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix in her clay season opener. But this year, she didn't return to the tournament to defend her title, a decision that left the tennis community surprised. However, in Rybakina's defense, she was put in an uncomfortable spot and basically had to choose one of 2 things. Over the weekend, Kazakhstan had the Billie Jean King Cup qualifiers in Australia, and their group was played on hard courts. And since their top star elected to play in the qualifiers, that also made it impossible for her to kick off her clay season in Stuttgart and defend her title. When the rankings get updated next Monday, Rybakina, who is currently ranked at number 10 in the world, will plummet for at least 1 spot and be ranked at number 11. The 25-year-old Kazakh entered the top 10 for the first time in 2023 January. Since then, she has been ranked as high as number 3 in the world. Rybakina ripped the tennis calendar over the weekend. After going 2-0 in the Billie Jean King Cup qualifiers and leading Kazakhstan to the finals, the 2022 Wimbledon champion called out the calendar. And judging by her words, it was not hard to understand that she wanted to play Stuttgart, but the schedule didn't allow her. I know that the schedule overall is very packed, and it's not easy to even schedule Billie Jean King Cup. But ideally, if we go to one part of the world, it will be nicer to play the same part. Now, for example, the clay court season starts and some have already played even tournaments on clay. So to come back and play hard, it's a bit tricky. And ideally, if there is a tournament, it's better to schedule it closer to where we want to be, Rybakina said. On Sunday, Carlos Alcaraz lifted his first Monte Carlo crown at 21. The Spaniard ousted 5 rivals en route to his 6th Masters 1000 crown, celebrating his first notable trophy since Wimbledon last year. As always, Novak Djokovic congratulated his young rival on another success, praising Carlos and calling him Titan. Novak could not challenge Carlos in the Principality following an early loss to Alejandro Tabilo. Alcaraz entered Monte Carlo following an early Miami Open defeat. The Spaniard did not provide his best tennis at his first clay court tournament of the season, but it was enough to carry him toward the trophy. The Spaniard faced a stern test in his first match. He ousted world number 22 Francisco Cerundolo 3-6, 6-0, 6-1 for a winning start. Carlos made a slow start before dominating sets 2 and 3. World number 3 toppled a qualifier Daniel Altmaier 6-3, 6-1 for a place in the quarter-final. Alcaraz had to dig deep against Arthur Fils. The two young guns met for the first time, and the Spaniard prevailed 4-6, 7-5, 6-3 after standing close to the exit door. Arthur claimed the opener and generated breakpoints at 5-5 in the second set. The 21-year-old denied them and stole the rival's serve in the next one to force a decider. World number 3 erased a 3-1 deficit in the final set and rattled off 5 games to move over the top. Carlos faced Alejandro Davidovich Fokina in the semi-final. The younger Spaniard wasted a 5-2 advantage in the opener and set points before prevailing in the tie-break. Alcaraz clinched the second set 6-4 to book a place in his first Monte Carlo title clash. The 4-time major winner battled for the title versus Lorenzo Musetti. The first-time Masters 1000 finalist claimed the opener 6-3 before fading from the court due to physical issues. Alcaraz kept his composure and notched a 3-6, 6-1, 6-0 victory en route to his 6th Masters 1000 title and the 3rd on clay. The Spaniard raised his level after the opener and left the Italian behind, as Lorenzo faced right thigh issues and struggled with his movement. World number 3 will chase another ATP title in Barcelona this week, seeking his 3rd title of the season. Alina Svitolina didn't hide her happiness after registering a key for Ukraine and leading her nation to their first ever Billie Jean King Cup Finals appearance. After ousting Poland 3-0 on the opening day of Group E in Radom, Ukraine needed to win only one match against Switzerland to book a place in the BJK Cup Finals. The first on the court was world number 25 Marta Kostyuk, who suffered a surprise defeat to Celine Naif. Had Kostyuk won, probably there wouldn't have been a need for Svitolina to play on Saturday. But the 2023 Wimbledon semi-finalist was ready and she routed Jill Teichmann 6-4, 6-2 to secure Ukraine's place in the finals event, which will take place later this year. Svitolina, it's a really meaningful moment for me. This means so much to us. It wasn't easy today after the first match, but I felt like our spirit was strong, that fighting energy was there on court. I'm very happy that Team Ukraine has made it to the finals for the first time. It's a very special moment for us and for our country, the world number 18 said. I've played so many years in the Billie Jean King Cup, and finally we made it through. It's a really meaningful moment for me. I'm proud of how we stuck together, how we fought, and finally reached the finals. Svitolina, who is 30 years old, debuted in the BJK Cup, formerly known as the Fed Cup, in 2012. Since then, she has regularly represented her country and owns a 16-9 record in singles and also appeared in 2 doubles matches. With Svitolina and Kostyuk, 2 top 25 players in singles, and doubles specialists Lyudmila Kichenok and Nadia Kichenok, Ukraine will certainly feel well about their chances of winning the BJK Cup finals. The main thing will be for the entire team to stay healthy when the time comes for the finals event in November.